Well, it was Friday night, and I was at home by myself, sitting in my study, which is near the front entrance of the house. And I heard some noise and saw some figures approaching. They were kind of small, and they were in strange garment. And they began to knock on the door and ring the bell quite insistently. And they were saying something that sounded like trick or treat. So I got up and I opened the door, and they said trick or treat. I didn't know what to do. But fortunately, I did know. I had a feeling this might happen. And so I had candy, and that appeased them. And I offered them candy, and they took candy, and they were very happy. And they said, "Thank you," and "Happy Halloween," and away they went. And so I brought this up because this caricature that our children still do on Halloween of going about in costume and talking about trick or treat, it's actually very deeply rooted in the beliefs of people before Jesus, before Christ's time. And I just wanted to lift out where that came from as we think about this season. Long before Christ, many of our ancestors, as they observed the cycles of nature and the seasons changing, saw that there was this time of year that was kind of shifting and changing, and it's getting darker, and this light is coming in slant, and this solstice, this autumn solstice, was considered a time when the separation, the division between the living and the dead became very thin and permeable. And our ancestors did indeed believe in there is more than just this life. Perhaps from their intuitions, from their observations of nature, of cycles of birth and death and rebirth, they believed this, perhaps from experiences of others or themselves, of out-of-body kind of experiences. People believed that there was a spirit that continued, that we were more than just a body, and that these spirits went into another realm. But there was this time of year when the division between these realms became very thin. And so spirits could come back on that night. And so one thing that people did was they would put on masks if they had to go out in the night, so that they would be disguised and hidden, particularly if there was an enemy who wanted revenge and came back to harm them. That's the trick side of trick or treat. And sometimes even bands of villagers would sort of get together and put on very frightening masks and go out around the perimeter of the village and through the village at night to scare away other spirits that might have come back. And it was also felt that, of course, a spirit that was friendly to you, a person that you knew and cared for you, might return. And so one thing that people did was put out on their porches some food, that they might offer that as a gift and as a refreshment to friendly people who had come back in spirit. And so as Jesus Christ came, and as the people that knew him and trusted him and believed in him began to move out into the world, they had conversations with their neighbors. And the conversation might have been something like this: "We too believe that this life that you see is not all that there is. We too believe that there is the life of the Spirit. And we do too believe that the nature, seasons of nature and the cycles, they're from our Creator, and we can learn many things from them and from our human experiences. But we have something additional that we want to talk to you about. It's a person named Jesus. And Jesus was indeed born And he lived and he taught. And we think there was no one else like him in what he taught and did. And we believe that the power of God, the Creator, was with him in a way we have never seen in any other person. And he was killed. And he died, was dead, and he was buried, just as all people are. But he was raised. He came back to us from that other realm that we don't understand, that we fear, that we wonder about. He came back to us from death. And we say this not because we wish it were true. We say it because he was here, and he did die, and he was witnessed as returned from the dead, and he taught us when he came back. We base what we're saying on something that happened and that we believe to be true. And what we believe are some of the things that he told us. He said, I go to prepare a place for you, that where I am, you may be. And he talks about his Father's house, the being of God, and how there's a place for us in the being of God. And we believe that all people, when they die, are met by the power and the glory of God, by the truth and the judgment of God, by the mercy and love and forgiveness of God. They all go together. They are met by the fullness of God, and they are judged. That's what judgment is. It's the coming together of love and mercy and truth and justice. And we are cleansed by this meeting with God. And we have a teaching, a vision someone had, of a great multitude, every nation, every language, every culture of human beings gathered at the throne of God, a multitude that cannot be counted, a sea of humanity. And they are all gathered together in unity, all cleansed, because they have a costume too in this vision. They're in white. They've been cleansed by the love and the truth, by the judgment of God. And they rejoice together. And in this vision, it is said that they hunger no more. They thirst no more. The sun does not strike them. The heat does not scorch them. They're no longer subject to distress and the changes and chances of this world. And that there is there the Lamb who was slain, Jesus. He is there in the very throne, the heart of God's being. And he shepherds them. He tends to them. So we believe when our loved ones die, or even when an enemy dies, they are tended to. They are met and addressed. And they are met and addressed in the way that is right. And they are gathered there. And we don't fear them coming back. This is our hope. And so Jesus, one day, while he was here, looked out at the great crowds coming to him. And they were the hungry and the thirsty. And they were the little ones, the insignificant ones who were brushed aside and swept under a carpet. They were the poor in spirit, whose hearts, whose very being and will were crushed and impoverished. And they were the poor, the physically poor, and the struggling. And they were the meek. They were the merciful, whose hearts go out to people, which usually ends up leaving you being taken advantage of. And the peacemakers, who pay for that peacemaking and get persecuted. He's looking at these people coming to him, and he says to his disciples, "Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are these meek. Blessed are they." Why? Because it's good to be poor and afflicted and struggling and discarded? No. Because they are coming through him, they are coming to God. They are coming for love and truth and justice and mercy. And he said, they will have it. They will have it. They will enter the kingdom. They will be comforted. They will thirst no more and hunger no more. Not now. Now they will know fellowship with me. But I go to prepare a place for them, that where I am, they may be. And so we come today. And we come and we enact the symbols of Christ and this vision. We come to the throne, to the table, where the one who was slain is poured out for us to be our shepherd, to give to us the truth of God and the mercy of God. So let us come. Let us come with all our hearts. Let us come with all our needs and all our emptiness, with all our thanksgiving and all our joy. And let us present ourselves as the children of God in communion with all the saints of every nation and language and tongue who have gone before us and who have been drawn in to the love of God through Jesus Christ. Thanks be to God.